Hello, I'm Tom Wygand, President of the Ottawa Area Chamber of Commerce, and today's date is April 23rd, 2012, and we're chatting with Mr. Robert Hill, here, trying to ask him some questions about his life. And Bob, thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
What we'd like to know is how long you've been in Ottawa. Were you grew up here?
Born here.
You were born here.
There, so was my father,
And your parents' name?
Glenn Hill, and my mother's name was Perry Hill.
Dan and
Perry.
Perry Hill.
Glenn and Perry.
Glenn and Perry Hill. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And you were born here when? Tell us how old you are.
1920.
1920.
I'm 92.
Okay. And your parents were they bankers, or were they?
Well, my dad was originally, he and his brother Earl Hill were druggists. My dad had a drug degree from KU, but he went in a drugstore for a while at Olathe, then he chose to get in the banking business. Started out to Centropolis, Kansas, little bank.
Mm-hmm.
Then he organized the Kansas State Bank.
So
1917.
So he got the original charter, or
Yeah.
organizational charter for the Kansas State Bank here.
1917.
And was it always at the Tecumseh corner there on Main
Well,
Street?
it was there in a little place. First building was up there by the river, and I can't think but there was a little building up there beside the river. But that building was built in 1922, I think it was. Nor Beeler,
Okay.
a good builder back in those days, built it.
So he started that bank in 1917.
17. It was chartered in 17.
3 years before Bob Hill was born.
That's right. I had a sister, Imogene, who's 10 years older than I am.
Okay. And did she work in the bank also?
She did. She went to Garden City and married a banker out there.
So you come up, you went to the Ottawa schools
Ottawa
and
University.
participated in athletics.
As a golfer.
You were a golfer.
I was on the golf team.
Well, that serves bankers well.
That's right. That's right.
Do you still play a little, or have
Oh,
you played a long?
I haven't lately, but
Played
I'd love to get out.
Played a long time.
Or ride the cart or something.
Good deal. So you've seen that grow, but when did you went to Ottawa High School here, and then did you go on to college?
I went to Ottawa University.
Okay.
Then after the war, I went back to law school, KU, and got my law degree.
So you got your law degree.
And I was a member of the Bar Association for 50 years. Although I didn't practice, it was very handy in the banking business.
Mm-hmm. But you continued your education and stayed up to date with your legal
That's right.
work. I bet that was handy.
Yeah.
I always thought that if you're going to be something, be an attorney, and then you can go do anything
That's
because you
right.
can figure it out.
Well, it helped me
business
in a lot
part.
of occasions.
I'll bet. I was just reading something today, actually, an old chamber article, and it was probably in the 20s. I think there were 16 banks in Franklin County,
Probably.
total assets of $6.5 million. $6.5 million. Well, I don't know what it is today, but it's got to be several hundred million,
Yeah,
and a lot fewer banks.
that's true.
Because most of the cities, except for Pomona, Wellsville, and Ottawa, don't have banks.
Banks were about on every corner about one time, like
Yeah.
grocery
Yeah.
stores.
Do you remember how many Ottawa had at one time?
Really 6 or 8.
Yeah, there had to be, yeah.
Yeah.
The Ottawa State Bank,
Yeah. Savings and loan was,
saving loans.
yeah.
Things-
People's National, First National.
Things have really, really changed.
That's right.
So, the bank probably grew as and it maybe ebbed and flowed as the community did, but early on you had the like the Warner Manufacturing, some of the did you bank with them?
That's the reason we started the bank. My dad started the bank on the north side was because of Warner's and the Santa Fe shops,
Mhm.
things like that.
They
There
had,
was a lot of industry on that north side.
they had hundreds of employees,
Yeah,
didn't
600 and some at one place,
they? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
They talked about the pay maybe being 75 cents an hour or
Could be.
$1 an hour. They
Yeah.
would talk about the payroll being
Yeah.
1,000 a week or something, you know.
We were really busy on payday at the bank, whenever Warner's paid or
Mhm.
Santa Fe.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah,
And the paychecks would come
yeah,
in.
that's right.
They didn't have direct deposit in those days,
No.
probably. They're drive-by window,
No,
huh? What had you seen? I mean, I want to get into some other things, but what had you seen as a big change in banks? The regulation when you started was obviously a lot different than right now, right?
oh, we think we're overregulated.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They dream up a new law every year,
Mhm.
so they,
But getting through the 30s, that was a major accomplishment.
well, sure, yeah, a lot of banks failed.
Yeah,
Thankful my dad was conservative.
conservative bank.
And we come through it in good shape.
Mhm.
And I've always been proud of the Kansas State Bank.
Did you focus on any segment of the society of the business, like whether it's agriculture or whether
Mostly
it was
agriculture
a lot
back in
of
those
ag-
early days.
a lot of farmers
Farmers. Yeah, we had a lot of good farm customers.
getting their crops in?
From Williamsburg area, we had a lot of people. Because there used to be a bank there and it closed, and we got a lot of their customers.
And it closed. Did it close in the 30s?
Yeah,
But due to hard times. And,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So things started tightening up probably about that time in the banking, as far as how you did your loaning
That's
and your
right.
accounting and those kinds of
That's
things.
right.
Okay, so you went to KU, got your law degree, and then did you come out? Was that about well, let's see, you were born in 20, so you would have gotten into the Second World War at
Yeah,
just
well,
about right time. You got out of college about the time that was starting out.
That's right, and I was there in the Navy for 3 years, and over in Anzio and Normandy and all that there. I was in the amphibious forces. I was on an LCI.
Were you in the like in the preparations for D-Day, like in
Oh,
England and
yeah.
coming over?
I was landed troops on D plus 30 minutes. D was at,
Oh my gosh!
we were the second wave in with troops on our LCI 212.
Was that
There's 4 officers on there, and we had a ship's crew of about 30.
in one way it must have been terribly exciting to see that kind of force, but another way terribly frightening.
It was frightening, but fortunately I come through it.
Come through it.
I was blessed.
Now the landing craft, you were the one that go out and then they drop that.
Well, that was LSTs.
That was the
Had
LST.
the tanks go out of the front.
Okay.
LCIs had troops that went over side ramps on each
Ah.
side, and we'd get as close to the shore as we could.
Okay.
But some of them got pretty wet.
And then you'd get it close to the shore as you could, then you'd go back for more, would you?
Yeah.
And then should you make?
We'd drop an anchor out to pull us off the shore, and
Mhm.
then we'd go back across the channel and pick up more troops. I crossed that channel, English Channel, probably 10 or 12 times
Did you?
with troops.
Now, did you say were you there on the first day or the first day?
Yeah.
Within the
Second
first-
wave in.
Second wave in. Boy,
That was 30 minutes after the first wave went in.
were there a few fireworks, huh?
Yes, it was. I was
What-
very lucky.
Was the weather was not the greatest in the world either, was it?
Well, fortunately, it was all right that day, but the day before it wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Utah Beach. Omaha Beach had more casualties. We lost more ships on Omaha Beach than the one I was.
Than the one you were
I was
on.
fortunate to be on the other one,
You were on Normandy.
Utah.
Utah.
on Normandy.
You were on Normandy. That was Utah.
I was in
Was
Anzio over in Italy
Mhm.
first. Then went up to Normandy in England and crossed the Channel there.
Let's see. Now Angio was coming over from North Africa.
That's right.
with Patton? Were you with Patton's
That's right. He
army,
was
supporting
over there.
him?
He was over there, yeah.
All that
We had a
fighting?
lot to do with bringing troops in.
So,
I remember hauling troops with these big bolo knives, and they were native people,
oh yeah,
black people, and
they were
they were really armed, but they were
armed with their
knives.
knife, like a machete.
Yeah, they cut your head off with one whack.
Wow, so that's tough, and I mean, but it's quite an honor, and have come through that and survived it, and being a victor, and
I'm very fortunate.
yes,
I
that
was blessed, I would say.
yeah. But what a memory. Have you seen some of the movies related to that?
Yeah.
Are they Saving Private Ryan? Is that anything like it?
Oh, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah,
The noise and the confusion and
yeah.
all that stuff. Wow. So you're in the Army 3 years, you said?
It's in the Navy about.
The Navy. I'm sorry, the Navy.
It's okay. Yeah, I went to midshipman school back in Notre Dame. That's where I got my commission.
Okay.
When I got out, I was a full lieutenant in the Navy.
Mhm.
And I used to think, well, why did you join the Navy? I said, well, I always wanted a dry bed, and I did. The ships,
Yeah.
you always
Didn't have to deal with
you
mud.
didn't have to deal with the mud, the trenches, and things like that.
Seems like mud and rain always follows the Army.
That's right.
So okay, so you got out of. How long after the armistice were you out?
Oh, I got out soon after.
Soon after.
Yeah.
And
went
then
to law school.
okay, and then came out and went to law school
That's right.
and got married.
Got married to Betty Jean Clark.
Betty.
Chalmers Clark was her dad, and he was a railroad agent at the junction out here north of town. There used to be a junction there.
Okay, he was a railroad agent.
Yeah.
You know, again, in that article I was telling you about, there was 41 trains a day, passenger trains that were coming in and out of Ottawa in that period of time. This had to be in the 20s. It was
Yeah.
after the First War.
Oh, yeah.
It's just hard to believe, but
Well,
you remember all of those going right by the
yeah.
bank there. And,
My grandfather was a railroad engineer in Mobile, Robert J. Hill.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he used to run a big steam engine.
what an interesting life,
Yeah.
huh? So okay, so you married Betty.
Betty.
When did you marry? What year?
1944.
I don't want to get you in trouble or
Well, that's
anything here,
all
but
right. I
1944.
believe it was.
While you were still in the service.
Huh?
While you were still in the
Well,
service.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I come home one time.
I
We
see.
got married.
Okay, was this a
After
like
I'd been overseas.
high school sweetheart?
Yes, she was.
Well, good deal.
She
And your marriage was 60-some years or
That's right.
before she passed.
Yeah.
And you had how many children?
Three daughters.
Okay.
Kathy, Marty, and Glenda. Glenda's deceased, and she was the youngest. Kathy and Marty are still. Marty Underwood and Kathy.
Yep.
Kathy.
Marty, and then Kathy was a bank examiner.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, followed the banking
That's right.
career.
She was.
And so I guess I've got to ask, what have you seen the changes you had expected? I mean, like when you were a young person and for your family banker and you had the war experience and everything, but you've always stayed in Ottawa and contributed to Ottawa. What?
I think Ottawa's the greatest place in the world.
So you feel like
so
you
fortunate to live here. I mean, it's a lot of people want to get out of
Yeah.
town, but I feel very blessed to have been raised in Ottawa and stayed in Ottawa
developed.
and be in business here.
That is,
It's been
yeah.
it's been a good life.
That's great. It is a great community, but what do you think makes it great? Is it because you got good banks here, or is it
No,
because
it's because the people and the
people.
farmers. My banking was a lot of farm customers. And that's what makes a solid community.
Good.
We're a farm community. We're not a big city community.
Like growing up, did you have who was your mentors or your heroes, say, that you kind of tried to pattern your life off of? I suspect I know the answer to that one maybe, but.
Well, after my father, for one thing, he was a disciplinarian. He dressed me down every
He
now
let you
and then.
know,
He let me know how I should have done it or didn't do it. But he was a good dad. And he taught me well to treat everybody fair. Don't take an extra dollar to do something on the side.
Integrity and
Integrity
ethics.
is the biggest thing he taught me in banking.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the best things in life you can have is integrity. If your word isn't any good, you're no damn good as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Integrity, ethics, it goes a long way.
That's right.
Let's see, what was my father used to say, character is a poor man's capital, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
You can use that in a lot of ways. So, and you've worked every day up until maybe the last year or so. What have you seen as cultural changes as far as customer expectations and why all the rules we have today obviously have come from some things that have changed in our culture.
All the rules today made a big difference in how we handle our people and how we used to handle them without a lot of rules. I wouldn't have needed any rules because I just like people, and of course I probably violated a lot of the rules. But I wasn't too severe. I'd probably be in jail, but there's nothing unusual.
But if you did with integrity and lived with integrity and ethics and the golden rule, we don't need everything else.
That's right.
The culture has changed. Maybe that.
Oh yeah.
Have to put some guidelines in. What would you? Anything you'd do different in your life?
No. I'm happy I was born in Ottawa. I stayed in Ottawa. I think it's one of the great towns. A lot of people want to leave and go to the big city, but that isn't for me. I enjoyed we're a farm community.
Tell me, were you a member of civic clubs? I think you had some association with Ottawa University. You didn't. Did you graduate 4 years from there?
Yeah, I was a trustee and then graduated KU Law School after the war.
So you had a long association with Ottawa University then.
Been a trustee for a year, life trustee. Great university.
How many were students there? How many students were there when you were? Probably
300.
And that was that would have been
in 38, 42 to 42.
So it really grew after the war.
Yeah.
And soldiers were coming back and going there, and then you remember. But your father was your mentor, kind of a hero. What did you maybe going back a little bit to your war years? What did you think of the Eisenhowers and the MacArthurs and the Pattons and those? Were they good leaders?
Sure.
Were they?
All of them are good.
You know, I would have to say one of my heroes, one of the persons I loved reading about was Eisenhower.
He was a very interesting person.
From Kansas.
Yeah. He was.
My first dog was named Ike.
Huh?
My first dog was named a German Shepherd in 1952 named Ike.
Okay.
But,
that was an honor for your dog.
Did you stay in touch with your military friends, like your unit? Some people have reunions and go back.
I really didn't. I haven't been to but one reunion.
But you did have one.
And of course, most all of them, there were very many back to the reunion that I knew. Of course, I served in North Africa and Normandy most of the time.
if I ask you maybe this, maybe in a different way, if there was any changes, if you could change anything about your experiences or things you did, or if you were king for a day, what would you? Is there anything about Ottawa that you would?
I don't know.
Probably haven't.
I just blessed to live here in Ottawa. I feel blessed that I was raised in a town like Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like a small town
Mm-hmm.
to be raised in instead of a big city.
Were you a part of the original Ottawa Industrial Park
Yes, I was president of it 1 year.
of the board in
Yeah.
those days?
Yes, I was president of it 1 year.
Tell me why that was so important that happened, that the businessmen got together, I understand, and raised some money.
It was a way to promote people coming here with industry, and we learned that we had to not just sit on our fannies and hope they'd come.
Hope they'd come.
We had to go after them more or less, as best we could.
So the decision was made that we needed to raise some money to buy some land
That's right.
to dedicate to a park to
That's
bring
right.
them to.
That's right.
And that's been very successful, hasn't it?
And I think so.
Pretty much most of the lots were occupied, and we've got several thousand people working here now
That's right.
through those efforts of you and others that are interested in growing Ottawa.
Sure.
The surprising part of it is that it's not a lot bigger than it was when you were growing up as a kid.
What is the population now, suppose?
Well, it's about 13,
Yeah.
just under 13. When it was about 10, it was 10
Yeah.
in those years.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty consistent and
That's
stable,
right.
very conservative.
That's right.
Did you get it? Did you travel much in your life? Did you take your
I used
kids
to
and
go-
your grandchildren?
Yeah, I used to go to Colorado a lot. Betty and I used to go to spend our winters in Arizona,
Did you?
to Phoenix, in
Phoenix?
the area, Scottsdale.
Uh-huh.
You've been there.
Beautiful
Oh,
area.
Good area.
Yes, in the
Used to-
wintertime especially.
Used to play golf out there a
Oh.
lot. Had a lot of friends that went there.
Yeah.
I had a lot of banking friends in Kansas City. First National was my correspondent up there, and I had a lot of good people up there.
Relationships there, and
Yeah.
you could play golf with.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
talk about business with. Well, do you have anything else, advice, or people that are looking to start their lives and their careers? I think you've probably given them the pointers they need to know.
Well,
Ethics, integrity,
that's right.
work hard,
Your
show up every
word's
day.
your bond.
Yeah.
That was my
That's right.
theory. If your word isn't any good, you aren't any good.
Yeah.
If you tell somebody you're going to do this, you should do it, or tell them why you
So
can't.
why you
do it.
can't do that?
That's right.
No, I have to assume that there were some times in the 30s when farmers might buy a piece of equipment and not have a crop.
That's right.
They'd have to come in and say, Mr. Hill, I can't make a payment.
I don't remember ever repossessing anything from any farmer. We either worked it out with them and went along with them till the next season, hoping it was better.
Hoping it was
But
better.
I don't ever remember
If
maybe
they were
one
honest.
case where I repossessed
Repossessed.
anything.
And that's quite a statement, isn't it? That's
Well, Probably it's because I was conservative in loaning money.
yeah, that's true.
Because it was your money and it wasn't my money, it was the public's money, it was a depositor. So I was very careful about that.
But I've heard of farmers who did buy that new tractor, like in 32 or 3
Yeah.
maybe, and then there was no crop, and then they'd have to go into the bank and say, but banks did it. They would say, okay, next year it'll be better and you'll
Yeah.
pay it. And it happened,
It
and
did,
as long as they were of their word and was up front,
that's
it
right,
was good.
that's the story.
Uh-huh. So, Well, it's very interesting. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this. Longtime Ottawan.
Born here.
born-
My father was born here. My Uncle Earl had the Hills drugstore.
Okay, now let's talk about that a little bit. Now, your father was born here, and now their family would they go back to the Revolution, or would they immigrate from somewhere?
Back in Pennsylvania, I'd say my grandfather, probably his folks were coal miners back in there.
Really?
And he came here and married my grandmother, Amelia. And he was a railroad, he ran a steam engine down
Okay.
for the Santa Fe.
Came out here with the railroad, probably,
Yeah,
when the
yeah.
railroad came through Kansas.
Yeah.
But they had to have a, in those days, did druggists graduate from a university, or could they just go and?
No, my dad was also a druggist. Earl Hill was his
Uh-huh.
brother. He never married,
Mhm.
but my dad also was a druggist. And he had a drugstore in Olathe before he got in the banking business.
Hmm. But the education required for a druggist in those days, did it go 4 years to college, or did you just
No,
go,
I think he went to college. They all went to college.
all went to college? They-
KU.
Was an apprentice, okay. All graduated. KU still one of the best pharmacist universities in the nation. And, but they, so they started their drugstore business here in Ottawa, and then
Well,
your
yeah,
dad did.
Yeah. Well, his brother did,
Oh, I see.
Earl.
Okay.
And my dad started banking in 1917 out to Centropolis, Kansas was his first bank.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, the Kansas State Bank was organized 1970,
Do you remember the Centropolis Bank?
a little bit.
They closed it.
No, yeah. I really, my sister's 10 years older than I wasn't even out there then.
I see. So
She
you-
was out there, I wasn't.
You weren't involved in the business when was
No.
closed and brought the
No.
assets brought to Ottawa.
No,
And this has been the only bank that your Kansas State Bank
yeah,
had here
that's right.
after that consolidation. Okay, I think that you have been a real asset to Ottawa. I thank you so much for all your contributions
You bet.
and your
I wish
certainly
I
your
could done-
loyalty and to this wonderful city. So
It's a good city. I'm always glad I stayed here.
you've been a Chamber of Commerce member for a good many years. Here your bank has.
Yeah,
So that's great, and being one that started our industrial park and our way on to having local jobs here for people to stay and work here
that's right.
has been a wonderful, wonderful contribution. So with that, we'll end our conversation with Bob Hill, longtime Ottawan, Kansas State Bank president and owner, family owner of that for many years. And so thank you, Bob, for being with us
Okay,
today.
more than happy.
You betcha.